Hi everybody, very welcome to yet another live stream here on the Mentour Pilot channel. As always, I hope you're doing absolutely fantastic and that you have a positive attitude, guys. That is really, really important in days like this. Before we start, basically, I'm going to do a good old-fashioned live this time, which means that you guys get to ask the questions. I will try to answer them to the best of my ability. I'm going to do a bit shorter live this time because in 33 minutes from now, SpaceX is supposed to be launching the first manned mission from the from the launch pad. I think they are at Kennedy Space Center, and I definitely want to view it. And if you guys want to, we can view it together. Because what I can do is I can just switch us over to the mission that's going over from them. Obviously now it's on my own live stream, but I will be able to go back in and just show you their live stream through my live stream with me commentating on it. But in 33 minutes, basically, we are going to start watching that, and I don't want to miss it myself. So, but up until then, I am all yours, and I am really, really glad to see all of you guys here. So let's see. Oleg, Oleg 250 is the first one on the super chat who said ABBA is still the best. Well, I mean, that goes without saying, being a Swedish band and everything. Of course they are. We can take, since there's no more super chats coming on at the moment, we can take some normal chat here. Have you ever seen a strange object in the sky? And all the years you've been flying? And yeah, I have. Actually, when I was a first officer at one flight that we did down the Alps during nighttime, both me and the captain saw a pair of lights just below us that traveled the same speed as us, and then they kind of just swooped away and disappeared. They were at too low altitude to be in another aircraft. They were not on TCAS. It was just very strange. It was a different color. We thought maybe it could be afterburners from military aircraft. Possible it is, but it moved in a very strange way. So for us, it was very hard to explain. So yes, I have seen that, but most of those things can always be explained in one way or another by natural phenomenon. And if we would have been having access to, for example, the ATC screen or whatever, I'm sure they could have told. We didn't report it. We just saw it. We thought it looked weird, and that was about it. Next, Oleg 250. You're on fire tonight. Do you know Cecilia Wennersten, singer from Sweden? Of course. I don't know her personally. It's not like we know everyone, the Swedes. But yes, I do know of her work, and I like it. Now, it's very strange here. I think there's only 112 people here. That means that possibly people are still away on watching commercials or whatever. Normally, there's much more people than that. Or the screen has just gotten stuck. That happens sometimes as well. So, Ausbing, thank you very much for your support. Very generous of you, thank you. If you were to fly as a passenger on an aircraft you're not type rated on, like the Airbus 320, Airbus 380, or Boeing 747, and the pilots were to be incapacitated, could you land the aircraft safely? Hard to say. I think if it were an aircraft like the Airbus 380, for example, I would probably struggle a bit, given that the philosophy is completely different. However, if I could get some easy pointers as to where to do certain things, as to input weights and speed for approach, maybe even disconnect if I need to fly it manually, because that might actually feel better, then yes, I think I will definitely be in a better position than most other people, given that I can have a nice, calm conversation with air traffic control. I know how to prioritize things and what to do at what point. I would also know what to ask for from air traffic control. So, like, can you get an Airbus-rated pilot up here? Can he or she just give me some pointers on, for example, how do I tell this aircraft to start descending? How do I line it up for the approach? What do I need to do in order for this aircraft, the autopilot, to latch on to the final approach course? I would know how to do that. I would also know how to kind of interpret how much fuel I have and things like that. So most of the things will be easier for me. But having said that, Airbus and Boeing have very different philosophies and very different nomenclature and different things. Like, the same thing might have a completely different name and be in a different place, and that would make things hard. But In a 747, yeah. In a 747, I would be fairly comfortable because the 747 has almost exactly the same kind of layout and things. It would be, yeah, I would say I would be fairly, no, I wouldn't say comfortable because it's a huge aircraft, has 4 engines and all of that, but I would recognize everything and I would recognize the way everything is set up. So a 747, I think I can get on the ground fairly easily, actually. Nasum Boy. Consider gliding a space shuttle into a particular runway. Only choice is to expend energy. No way to add it with engines. Would that be nerve-wracking to you? Yeah, I mean, it's all about training. So the guys who flew the space shuttle, they had trained hundreds, if not thousands, of hours in simulators. They knew exactly what to do, and also they had an onboard computer that did most of getting rid of the energy. And they came in quite hot and high. They had chase planes and stuff like that as well. So they knew how to do it. Now, if you put me in there without any training, then yes, I would think it would be a really nerve-wracking thing to do. Okay, I did a video, and I'm considering redoing a video about loss of thrust of both engines, like a shorter video, just highlighting the different problems that arises from that and how you need to prioritize. Because I have a video out right now, which I hope that you guys have watched, where I do a departure, I get bird strike in both engines, just like Solly did. I lose both engines, and I'm at 6,000 feet, so I can manage to do a full 180 around and actually ending up a little bit high even, and going in and doing a normal landing in the runway the opposite runway to the one I departed from. I hope that you check that out. The way that video is done is that I do the first maneuver, and then after that I do the same maneuver. Well, it's the same maneuver shot, but I stop it and I explain each point of what's going on. So if you haven't checked that video out, I highly recommend you to check that out. Good. What time is it? For me, it's 21:07. At 21:33, it's going to be the launch. So at 1:30, I'm going to switch over, and you guys can watch the launch together with me, or you guys can switch over. I guess most of you guys want to see it because it's a historic day. It's the first time SpaceX shoots up people into space, so we're all keeping our fingers crossed to make sure that works out well. Because that if it works out well and everything goes according to plan, it's a new step towards more affordable manned flight. So we really hope that it will go well. Spyrus G, maybe the unidentified light you saw below you were own plane's light reflected in a smooth lake. No, we're flying over mountains, that's the thing. And they were very defined. And we don't have any lights on, by the way, when we're up at cruise altitude. So no, it wouldn't have been. I took a picture of it. I have it stored somewhere. I don't know. Maybe I can put that up if I find it. But it was definitely not anything that had to do with us. And they suddenly just disappear as well, which is very strange. Girona has only one high-speed taxiway. Why? Safety. It's not even a high-speed taxiway because it's basically a slightly angled normal taxiway. You wouldn't be able to use it at a high speed because it's angled off and then it's a 90-degree turn. So you can't come into it with any speed. But most smaller airports don't have high-speed turn off. It's only the larger airport with longer runways that have that in order to facilitate traffic flow, really. So it's not uncommon that you'll see runways with completely only like 90-degree entry taxiways on them. Jack, Banana Jew, if you barrel roll passenger plane, will you get fired? Yes. The only one that has barrel rolled a passenger plane was the chief test pilot at Boeing when he was showcasing I think it was the Boeing 727. It could have been the 707 as well, actually. And he did that when they were showing off the aircraft for new customers. He did a barrel roll, and obviously with no passengers on it. And he was almost fired because of that. And he is a legend. So you would like, that's not what these aircrafts are built for. You would never do that. There's no reason to do anything like that. And to be fair, when you have full of passengers, it'd be hard. Like, you'd have to dive it up to quite a lot of energy in order to do that properly, and you have to be really trained to do it. I did yet another video you can have a look at in the cockpit when I rolled 737 from a simulator, obviously. Now, I didn't do a very good job. I showed it as an upset and recovery maneuver, because actually, if you get into, for example, a vortex behind another aircraft, like a white, what's it called, like a wake turbulence vortex, then in theory that could actually roll the aircraft over. And if you find yourself more than 90 degrees over, well, then the quickest way might be to continue the roll in order to get yourself on the right way, rather than trying to stop the rolling moment and get back again. So that is actually a approved maneuver. If you find yourself in a situation like that by no fault of your own, you can continue the roll around in order to get back onto your normal orientation as quickly as possible. I've never even heard of that happening to an airliner. It has happened to smaller aircraft, biz jets that's gotten into the wake turbulence behind Airbus 380s, for example. It's happened to them. And you would have a lot of frayed people, a lot of stuff in the aisle, a lot of potentially hurt cabin crew and stuff if that happens. Cool. So we're getting a little bit behind here. How bad is using mobiles in flight? All right. So there's two different things here. Using a mobile in flight is not that bad. Like, one mobile wouldn't disturb us or the systems that much. They could, if they're being used in a sensitive part. So if we're doing an autoland, for example, then there is a possibility that they might interfere, right? And I'm saying might because we don't really know, but as always, when it comes to safety in the aviation world, we default to the safest course of action. And that's always to just turn them off to make sure it doesn't happen. We do get interference sometimes when people have left their mobile phones off, and as you get closer to the surface, they start to pick up these mobile masts, and they start to look for signals, and then you get those beep, 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 beep. Those things goes into our ATC communication. So that does make a difference. Now, what we really don't want is for everyone. If we would say it's fine to use mobile phones, right, without flight mode, people would just keep them on. All right, and then you would have 189 people with their mobile phones starting to look for signals at the same time, and then we're starting to look at quite a lot of potential interference. So once again, we are saying no, don't have them on for the sake of safety. Just listen to us, don't do it. In flight mode, most airlines allows you to use them now, and in most places like long haul, you'll be able to get internet VLAN anyway. So I don't really see the point of having the phones on. For once, you can keep them off. Right. Tom Heaton, Bartolini Air Ryanair Mentor Program opinions. Bartolini is a great school. I've done an interview with the head of training of Bartolini. I've only heard good things about them, from them. So, I mean, obviously they're among the cheapest flight schools that are approved by Ryanair in Europe at the moment as well. So, like, from my point of view, they look good. Now, we haven't done, from the Airline Pilot Club, we haven't done an evaluation on them. Any school that is going to be approved in the APC kind of network needs to be checked out by our team and needs to go there and check out, which means that it's going to be quite a few schools to start with, but we're going to build up our network. But given that they are approved by Ryanair, which is one of the biggest employers in Europe when it comes to pilots, that can be seen as a quite good kind of stamp of approval. So I think that's it's probably very, very good training that you can get out of them. Have you ever been skydiving? I have not. I am actually a little bit afraid of heights. Da, da, da. A lot of pilots are actually. I don't like getting out on ledges, for example, getting up into high buildings and stuff. I don't like it. I love flying. I have no problems whatsoever, obviously, when I'm in the cockpit. But those kind of things makes me a little bit uncomfortable. And that, by definition, then jumping out of a perfectly working airplane is not on top of my lists that I want to do. But look it up, actually. Yeah, I know people get very surprised when I say that, but in fact, it is quite common among pilots to be uncomfortable with heights. I can do it, but So, keep on the good work from Peter Dwars. Thank you very much, Peter. It means so much that you guys want to come here and listen to me talking about aviation twice a week. I had an app live stream today inside of the Mentour Aviation app. I do live streams as well, and I was telling them that actually I think that I will probably take a little bit of a break from making videos soon. I'm gonna kind of double down a little bit and try to gather back a little bit of strength, because I've been, during this pandemic now, I've been working so hard with trying to get you guys entertained and do live streams and interviews and double the amount of videos that I normally do. And I know that people can get a little bit tired of seeing videos from Mentour Pilot coming out all the day. But for me as well, I need to find the energy. I need to find my positive attitude. And at the moment, since it was so long since I was flying myself and I've been working so hard on the channel, I might step back again a little bit. So if you're not getting a normal video for a week or two, that would be it. All right, it's not because I've disappeared or because I don't want to do this anymore. It's just because of that. But hearing that you guys appreciate it makes all the difference in the world for me. I really do appreciate it. And all of my Patreons, members of my Patreon crew, I cannot thank you guys enough for the support that you're giving me. It enables me to take a break, actually. The fact that I have my Patreon crew and they do support my channel and the company that I own that produces these videos financially gives me the opportunity to sit back and kind of maybe prepare a little bit and do a little bit fewer videos for 1 month, while previously, since now this is my full-time job effectively, I need to produce otherwise, right? So if you are watching this and you think, dude, I want to support that guy with $2 per month or whatever, go up and check out my Patreon crew. All right, it is hugely appreciated, and they are the ones that they have to preview my videos. I do have a separate Discord server that's only available for my patrons, and if you are at the $10 level per month, which is hugely generous, well, then you also get a premium membership inside of the app, which means that you can ask questions during live streams and stuff like that. So do consider that if you want to support the channel. Robbie 169, thank you very much. Now, your super chat question didn't come through for some reason, so go into the app and send me a message through the submit feedback function, and then I'll answer you there. Cool. Let's see. I'm way behind here, guys. Let's make sure that I want to be able to answer all these questions before the launch now. Otherwise, we'll just switch over to the launch and then I'll continue. That's possible to do as well. So, AG Udal reviews. HU Dahl reviews. I'm flying on the Southwest 737 in June. As a 737 pilot, what are some facts about the aircraft I could mention in a travel video? Well, I mean, I have done videos on quite a few of the peculiarities of the 737. So what you want to look at is, for example, the engines, the flat bottom part of the engines. People want to know about what you think of noise level. There are, for example, you can mention, the rows that lacks windows, the fact that there's the air coming out of the air conditioning packs is traveling up exactly there. So if you look through, you'll see that one of the rows on each side lacks windows, and that's where the air is going up. So I've done loads of videos on it. It's very hard to kind of pinpoint one exact fact that you should be talking about. But those are some things that people are probably wondering about if they're sitting in the cabin. What the hell? The world is missing. Guys, let me know if they are... Well, actually, what we'll do is I can switch over to... just to see on the SpaceX launch here, to make sure that we're not missing that. Okay, just want to make sure that... All right, it doesn't seem like they're up and running just yet, guys. So as soon as the launch is about to happen, I'd like you guys to give me a hint. Then we'll switch over to SpaceX. We'll have a look together at the launch, and then we can continue. All right. Fredrik Korsvik Alnes, norsk. What kind of education are needed for flight school? So generally speaking, what I always say is, because it differs a little bit depending on which country you're in, all right? So what I would like you to do is contact the biggest flight school in your country, the one that you're aiming to go to. In Norway, that would be, for example, OSM Flight Academy. And look at that. They will tell you exactly what you need in order to apply for them. Normally, it's just fairly basic kind of schooling in maths and physics. Like Swedish gymnasium, for example, would be needed. There's in England, there's a certain amount of GCSEs and A levels that you need to have. If you're in the UK, what you do is you go into like Oxford Aviation Academy, CAE, and go to their website and look at the prerequisites, and they will say exactly what you need and in what subjects you need them. Okay, so it looks like the live might be coming on now. I'm just gonna have to check over to make sure if it's going or not. Right, it's still not happening, guys. So I'm gonna also tell you guys, if you have the Mentour Aviation app, we have a direct link to the actual launch there, so you can go and see the launch in the app if you want to, or on YouTube, or here together with me. It's completely up to you. So Balai, Sharat Kumar, coming hot and high landing. You go around or land. If you're hot and high, you're not stabilized. That's by definition. If you're not stabilized, you go around. You have to. And I'm going to do a video on that, explaining exactly why and what a stabilized approach is and what you need for it. All right. So, okay. So I'll see now. I think that there might be the launch might be coming close. It's still about 10-12 minutes away, guys. So I'm going to wait with that. Pikachu M. Mudkip, are you going to watch the SpaceX? Yes, I will watch it, and I will live stream it here. Okay, I'm just gonna make sure, guys, that you can see it. So if I switch over here to like that, and we switch to here, and then we switch to here.
We worked really hard, and now it was time to kind of soak it in. And I think that's what Bob and Doug are doing right now. They're sitting on the vehicle, talking to each other, listening to the sounds, and feeling the vibrations as it starts up. And it's going to be a great experience for them.
Hi, Rex. What is your take on private astronauts going to space?
I think it's great. I think the more we can do to commercialize space, to make access easier, the better we are. And I think that's part of this whole program. You get the cost down, then more people can afford it. You can do more things in space, and I wish more people could see that. When you look out on the planet, like Liam was talking about earlier, with your crewmates from different countries all around the world,
perfect.
It
so
gives
then
you a
I can
different
keep this on.
It gives you
what
a perspective that we're all
right to mute this down a bit for now, and then I'll just keep this in the background to make sure that we don't miss it. All right, guys. I would love to have a separate window for that, actually, to make sure that we don't miss anything. Anyway, okay. It says the launch is not yet an hour to go. No. I don't think it's an hour away. I think it is fairly soon, actually. I think it's just minutes away. So what? Man, it's really annoying to have in the background, actually. There we go. All right. This is the first time I'm using this function, guys. So don't like. I'm gonna try my best here to not miss anything. What is the most serious? This is from Jason Kodispoti. What is the most serious dangerous issue you've had to deal with while flying? Have you ever had to declare emergency? Mayday as a pilot. Not a pilot, but loving watching your videos. So this is a question that comes out quite often on my live streams, and I also say the same. I have been lucky so far that I haven't had any critical situations, but I've had things like bird strikes that have led to bent leading edges. I've had flap problems where the flaps wouldn't come out. I've had, obviously, a lot of sick passengers that led to medical emergencies, which can also be a mayday. It could also be a pan, depending on how the passenger is doing. So I have declared pan. I have not declared mayday yet, and I'm hoping to stay that way, because it's not something you want to do. But my whole career, everything about the career, is about to try to keep away from having to call a Mayday. So far been lucky. Touch wood. Hopefully that will continue as well. Oleg 250 mechanic in Seattle did the barrel roll in the stolen Q400. Yeah, I know. And I guess that that ignorance is bliss. The fact that he didn't know how dangerous that is made him able to do it, and the fact that it was a completely empty aircraft, so it was only him and the two very strong turboprop engines that he could use, so it worked. Okay, definitely not something that you should be doing. So from Daniel Tettens, hi, can you cross the Pacific? Swedish passenger. When in an aircraft, yeah, you can fly across the Pacific. In fact, quite a lot of aircraft do. They fly from for example, Sydney over to Los Angeles. That happens fairly regularly, and they fly over the Pacific. So yes, that is possible. Peter Dwars, hi Mentour Pilot, I love your channel. Keep on the good work. Question: have you ever taken a wrong turn on a runway or a taxiway? Did SATC get angry? And yeah, I have done that. Anyone does. At some point you do. Most of the times you miss a taxiway as you taxi past somewhere where you should have turned. But yeah, I have definitely done that. If they got angry, it depends a little bit, depending on traffic situation. If it's really busy traffic situation, then they don't like that at all, and then can get quite testy. But if it is just you making an honest mistake and you're stopping, normally what we do is you find out very quickly that you have made that mistake. So you stop and you tell ATC, and then they give you further clearance, and then they just kind of laugh at you. That happens fairly often, actually. Not to me, but it happens all the time. So a key for you to avoid that is to do a proper briefing. And for the pilot monitoring, the captain is going to be the first officer in the 737, as we only have a tiller on the captain's side, has to continuously follow, especially on a complicated taxiway, follow the chart that we have, the taxiway chart, and verify that we're doing the right thing. And I will never taxi somewhere unless I'm sure that that's what I'm going to go. Manchester is a good example. That can be really tricky because Manchester have these kind of like roundabouts, and they have taxiways that merges into each other and kind of diverge like this, and it is really easy. You're taxiing on one taxiway that then becomes another taxiway, so it's very, very easy to make a mistake. And the best thing to do there is just taxi slowly, verify your position all the time, and if in doubt, ask ATC, can you just confirm that it's a right turn for us here, because they have ground radar, so they will definitely keep a track of you, especially if you're indicating that you're not really 100% sure of where you are. So that's how to get rid of it. So George Morris, hi Mentor, have you ever flown into Bristol? Many times. It's one of our destinations from Girona, so I've flown into Bristol many times. It's lovely, great air traffic control, quite short runway with a bit of a bump on it, so it's all one of those runways that you have to be a little bit careful with, especially if you're landing towards the western runway 27. But I love flying there. It's a nice, like, just under 2-hour flight. Like I said, good air traffic control, quite a lot of aircraft around, so you have to concentrate. It's not really easy, but it's not really hard either. So I love flying into Bristol. Noah Williams, sorry, that jumped once. Noah Williams, thanks for answering the mobile question, Mentor. I've always been curious about that. Hope you're doing absolutely fantastic. I am doing absolutely fantastic. I am running a little bit low on energy, like I was saying, so I am saving up a little bit. And okay, so just want to make sure that I don't miss this live launch here, because that would be... Wait. We're just waiting. I'm just waiting for the countdown to start here, so I know how many minutes away it is. All right, so it is definitely a way away, actually. So guys, don't worry. It's more than 45 minutes away. So whoever told me that in the chat, you were absolutely right. That means that there's no issue here. I thought that they were going to go at 33. Actually, it looks like it's more than an hour away. Great. Perfect. So then I don't have to sit here and constantly look over look over to the other window. Wick 1123. How do you deal with fatigue? What if your eyes start closing during flight? Red Bull or what? Also, what shoes are good to use in flight? Fatigue, like there's different types of fatigue. Like the acute fatigue that we talk about is what you're talking about, which is when you're sitting there and you just get those micro sleeps. There are ways around that. We, for example, in Europe, we're allowed to, on flights that are more than about 2.5 hours long, we can do controlled rest, which means basically you're starting to feel that, you tell your colleague there's a procedure in force, and one of you can actually take like a 20-minute nap. That's perfect, because then you don't need it. Once you've taken that, it's a power nap, you work perfectly after that. If it's a shorter flight and you start feeling this, then you might need to, like, I try to drink water, I take a cup of coffee. Now, a lot of caffeine is not great either, but I do take a cup of coffee because, you know, I love coffee and it helps. So you do some of that. Now, that's acute fatigue. When it comes to chronic fatigue, that's what you get when you're not sleeping enough for a long time. So you're constantly kind of low on your sleep and you just build up a sleep debt. And when it comes to that, you have to deal with it. You have to, you know, on your off days, you have to sleep properly. If you're having young kids or whatever, you have to sleep in a separate room, and you have to talk to your spouse to make sure that they understand that it's not possible for you to not sleep during a night and then operate an aircraft. So you have to take a lot of own responsibility when it comes to fatigue management, and you have to be aware of it. And if you feel bad, then, you know, make sure that you get your sleep, that you have a nice cool place that is quiet and black, that you're going to sleep, that you're not on social media or getting yourself upset before you try to go to sleep, that you have a regular meal schedule, that you try to exercise as much as you can. There's all of these things goes into being a pilot. If you're not taking care of yourself and you're not doing these things, then you are going to eventually fall into one of these fatigue traps. And with the latest EASA rules, they're actually stipulating very clearly that it's up to you. It's like the airline has the responsibility of creating a roster pattern which allows you to get sleep and get a lot of rest. All right, but if you do have one, like I'm working on a 4-3 roster, a lot of my colleagues are working on a 5-4 roster, then if you have that and it's no night flights, it's only either earlys or late, you have possibilities to sleep. So then it becomes your responsibility to take care of fatigue. And they're very, very clear on that, both from EASA and from the company. So, you know, take care of yourself, basically. James Avran, all right. So James, you've sent, like, that's a very, very generous question that you sent that didn't come true. And I hate when that happens, because I know that you had a question that you really wanted to ask. So please, if you have the Mentour Aviation app, right, this is the best way of reaching me. Just go in there. At settings, there is a submit feedback. That will open up an email that will go directly to me. Write super chat question from James and then send off that, and I'm going to respond that to you. All right, I promise to do that because I really, really don't want people to miss out on that. D. Peters, Dr. Peters. I'll call you Dr. Peters from now. I like this channel. Question regarding pilot demand in the future. Isn't just a strategy from low-cost airlines to flood the market with labor to be able to drop the wages? Good luck, Peter. No, there's not a strategy from the low-fare airlines to try to get as many people out as possible. That would not work generally, because people are smarter than that. They have been in Europe. They have been expanding heavily for the last decade, and they would have needed every single pilot. Now it's a little bit different. This COVID situation makes everything a bit more complicated. All right. So for the next 2 years, it's going to be a rough place to be. Right, the labor market is going to be very, very tough for pilots. But after that, I think already starting next year, we're going to see an uptick again, providing that there's no, resurgence of this COVID thing. And what happens to terms and conditions? Very hard to say. You know, when there's little pilots, they pay more. When there's a lot of pilots, they pay less. And they will always, like the employers, they always want to pay as little as possible to keep the crew there and happy, or reasonably happy. And the crew wants to get paid as much as possible. And there's a constant warfare going on between them. So what's going to happen because of this? It's impossible to say, guys. It is really, really hard. So that was it. Wonder. Oh, sorry, I forgot about Wick 1123. You had 2 questions there. What about shoes in flight? I use normal shoes that you would have for a uniform. So like dress up black shoes. That's what I'm using. You can't use sneakers. The dress code is very clear to what kind of school you can use. Sorry, shoes you can use, not school. There is, you know, the brand Echo. It might be a Swedish brand, actually, Echo. They actually had a special pair of shoes called Arlanda for pilots. I loved those shoes. I haven't been able to find them lately, but I love those shoes because they were made perfectly for pilots. And they were nice and cool when you were flying with them. They could take a little bit of water, so when you did a walk around and it was raining outside, they didn't get wet. Great shoes, but I haven't seen them lately because I guess, you know, making school shoes exactly for pilots maybe wasn't a huge market. But if you can get a hold of Echo Arlanda, they're really good. So Aisatar, you had a question that you could pull back. Sorry to hear that. Pratik P. ENS IRS with wind info for tasks in the case of ASC failure. I don't understand that question, to be honest. You might have to send me a message for that one as well, because I don't understand the question. Like, you do get tasks through airspeed and stuff calculated through the IRS system, and the IRS they will give you a whole load of things, ground speed, for example. But in case of ASI failure, I don't know. A very important part of being a pilot and going in for interviews, for example, is to be able to say, I don't know. So instead of me sitting here trying to bullshit you, this is a question. First of all, I don't understand exactly what you're asking, and second of all, it's at the technical level where I would have to go into my manuals and check it out. In many cases, that is the case. Like, we know the systems on a very, no, I wouldn't say basic level, but you understand all of the systems that you're working with. But sometimes in order to go in and answer specific questions about specific systems, you do need to take your manuals up and go in and check it out, right? So that's what I would have to do in this case. Deanna, skydiving isn't for me. Not afraid of heights, but I'm afraid of falling. Yeah, that makes sense. Love flying and roller coasters and tall buildings, but won't climb a ladder. You see, I love the roller coasters as well. The only part I don't like with the roller coaster is that tick-tack, 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 when you're going up. Then that part, I just focus on the sky because that's something I recognize, right? I try not to look down, and I try not to think about if this thing stops here and we have to walk on those tiny little ladders on the side down again. That, oof. Anyway. Petra Olsson. Great to have you here, Petra. Thank you so much for what you've been a big help during these crisis times. Well, great to hear. I'm so happy because that's really what I've been trying to do. I know that a lot of people have been sitting at home and inside and stuff, and also, of course, I've been doing the same. So I've been dying to do some more stuff. But it's really nice to hear, guys, that you appreciate that you like it. Basically, that's all I need to hear. Asiter, can you update us regarding the APC Aeon project? Yes, I can. All right. So you guys need to go to the website now, and you guys need to sign up to the APC newsletter. All right. I know I've kept saying that, but now we're starting to roll. All right. There are a few things that are happening on the website already. We still haven't opened up for membership because we're only going to do that when we have a clear view of what the future holds, and that's going to happen this autumn. All right. So we are looking now at a launch of membership around the 1st of August. Now, it might change a little bit depending on what's happening, but around the 1st of August. But before then, we are going to roll out information videos. I'm going to show you what it's all about. And this is the truth of things. Everything was lined up to be launched with the funding situation and everything before COVID. Now, with COVID and the ongoing situation, the banks have, not surprisingly, kind of pulled out of the picture. They don't really see the point right now to fund pilots for training into a market where they're not sure that they're going to be employed. And that makes sense if you think about it, right? Now, that doesn't mean that the banks are out of the picture. It just means that they're holding off for now. All of the systems that we have created, all of the structure that we have created is still there. So we are going to keep pushing for a funding solution. However, I have always been saying, and I keep saying this, that this funding solution that we were talking about is an unsecured loan that we would be able to give to people who had no other way of getting the money to get the training. Okay, an unsecured loan is always going to be quite pricey, to be perfectly honest, and can be tricky if you are not getting employed straight after. So I have said, and I will keep saying, that if you can fund this yourself, or if you can bootstrap it or whatever, that is still better. If you can save up to large amount of the money and then getting some kind of loan through your family, that is still better than this. All right, so that's number one. The other things that we have that we are going to offer exclusively to our members is the indicative assessment, which is crucial, guys, as in absolutely crucial. Before you pay a single euro to go into flight training, you need to know that you have what it takes. And this indicative assessment is going to do just that. You will do the assessment, you will get a feedback back from it saying that this and this area is good, this area is not up to standard. You need to practice on this, and we are going to give you guidance on like literature that you need to read, or we already have an English language course, so if you're weak on English language, we're just going to have to push you towards that course that is available for you. But in any case, this is different than any other indicative assessment out there. There are no other indicative assessments. There are only tests that will say yes or no. We will tell you yes, maybe do this in order to get a yes, or no. And crucially, if you do get a no, you should really think about whether or not you want to invest that amount of money into becoming a pilot, because it means that there's several areas of your personality that might not be fully suitable. All right. So the indicative assessment is one, and that's going to be available for members, and it's going to be done first time. Is part of the membership price, which is going to be higher the first year to cover the cost of the indicative assessment. And then if you need the second one or the third one, then that will be sold to you, because we remember this is not APC, this is Aon. Like this is a product that has been made in order for you to avail of, but we have to buy it right for you. So this is something that will cost money, but remember, guys, that it's going to cost so much less money than just going for it on a hunch and then ending up potentially spending thousands of, or tens of thousands, or even 100,000 euros on something that you shouldn't do. So indicative assessment is one. Then we are looking at an insurance model product that we are going to that also going to be through the club members only, which will insure you for your training and then potentially turn into a loss of license insurance, maybe even an income insurance. We're still working on that. So that's another side. And then we'll have the guidance bits where we will tell you which schools that you should be going for if you have a ready sign, if you get a green tick on your indicative assessment. That's that, right? Good. Now you're going to go here, and hopefully we'll be able to also give priority to members. That's something we're still working on, but these are the kind of things that we're working on. So like I'm saying, APC is happening. We are going to do what we are trying to promise to do, except for the funding for now, right? The funding will come as we kind of get into a more normal world where the banks knows where the risks are, but it will come eventually, and we will do whatever we can to support. That's what I'm been talking about. This is why I got into this venture in the first place, because I thought there were a lot of bad schools out there. We need to show you which ones are the good ones. There was no indicative assessment, so people didn't know what they were getting themselves into. Okay, So that's an update for now. I hope that you like that. And you can, by the way, the English language courses are available. All right. So if you feel that you need to kind of use this time to brush up on your English language course, go to the airlinepilotclub.com, go to the courses there, and you'll find the English language course. We do some free courses that goes on a couple of times a week, I think, just like an introduction. And then if you like that, or if you want to do the full course, which is a longer course, then there's a paid course, right? Because we have an employed teacher that does that for you. And it's all aviation related. Right, so you learn English in an aviation environment. So do go and check that out if you want to improve on your English. Okay, I have resent my super chat message where I submit feedback. Okay, let's see then if I've gotten it. That would be awesome. That's, you know, wonders of technology. Okay, cool. Here we go from Rob. My super chat question from Robbie169 was, do you think that the Pia crash could have been due to intercepting a false glide slope because of approaching too high? First officer was adamant that they were established on the ILS in spite of such a steep descent rate. Thanks for all you do. All right, so the Pia crash is one of those things that I'm not going to go in and guess too much on. I don't do that. There are other channels who are better at doing that than I am. So that's one of the reasons that I had Blanco Lirio, Juan from Blanco Lirio on for my last live stream, because he has been doing this kind of updates. He's comfortable with that. He's more into it. I generally try to avoid doing that. Now, is there a possibility that they have captured a faulty glide slope? Yes, there is a possibility that they have done that. Generally, though, there are quite a lot of indications when you have captured the wrong glide slope. And one of them is that a wrong glide slope, if you get one of the higher lobes, you are going to get, sometimes you get opposite indications, for example, because every other lobe from the ILS would give you opposite indications. Instead of descending, it will actually tell you to climb. That's definitely something that will tell you that you're on the wrong lobe. But if you have the second one, so there's one lobe that is the 3-degree one, and then you have one at, I think, 6 degrees. Okay, that's an opposite one. And then you have one at 9 degrees glide, and then that will indicate a descent, right? That would be an insane descent rate. It will give you a descent rate with a good maybe 3,000 feet per minute, or 2,500 feet per minute. And we need to be stabilized, as in within 1,000 feet per minute during the last 1,000 feet. So if you're sitting on a glide slope like that, you know that something is wrong, which is why I don't think that that's the case. All right, I don't think so. I think it's more a case of what they were established on the localizer. They thought maybe that they could capture the glide if they weren't on it, if they didn't have that indication. But this is why it's so important that we wait and see what the flight data recorder actually gives us. All right. It's starting to be beyond doubt that they were doing a hot and high approach, because so many things that's indicating that. And if it is, it's a shame. It's a real shame, because the stabilized approach concept has to be followed. Like, it's your job when you become a pilot. It's your job to make sure that you never, ever, ever do an approach which is not stabilized. No one will thank you for it. You will only get shit for it. All right. You will only get the OFDM system. It will tell on you. So even if you manage to do a normal landing out of it, you're going to get a call from the chief pilot saying that, listen, this approach, explain, please, why you did this. We saw your descent rate. We saw all of the OFDM warnings. We saw all of that. Why? It's always better to go around, right? In all circumstances. So we will see. Now, they haven't found the cockpit voice recorder, and I would love for them to find that. We need to hear the discussion, not only from the last part of the flight, you know, they go around and when they lost the engines, but happened before that, the briefing, the descent in below 10,000 feet, if there was some discussions between the two. We need to hear that. All right, so I hope they find it soon. Cool. So when do the engine continuous switches be used on the 737NG? Yeah, so continuous on the start switches makes we have two spark plugs, so in each engine, right? So 4 in total. If you put continuous on, it means that the spark plugs on one in each engine is continuously lighting. We do that during takeoff, during landing, so critical phases of flight, and if you're flying through severe turbulence, for example, or moderate turbulence as well. And if you're going through a heavy rain shower, things where you think that it's a good idea to maybe have continuous lighting on. If they're off, they're off. It means that the flame is just feeding the flame. So there's no igniters on. Flight gives you the gives you both. So then you have 2 igniters on each engine firing continuously all the time. Right? That you will do if you have a loss of thrust on both engines, for example. You know. NHX boy, funny, the fear of heights thing. Yeah, the air bridge is high enough to make me uncomfortable. No way I'm going to skydive. However, 35,000 feet does not scare me. What's up with that? Yeah, it's I don't know. It's something with your brain. You know, if you're standing on a ledge, for example, and you're looking down, the brain obviously can interpret that as in like danger. Do not step over the ledge. If you're sitting in the cockpit flying, the brain does not compute the fact that you're that high over, and it has something to do with your control. As if you're in control of the situation, then the brain is not that worried. So that it's very hard to interpret how the brain do this kind of things. We are, after all, primates, where we are like animals, and animals will do what animals do. Landing gear stuck except nose wheel. Would you rather belly land without or with nose wheel alone? We have a procedure for that. So we have partial gear up landing, and I don't think, first of all, it would be highly unlikely that you would get down like none of the main gears, only the nose gear. I can't come up with a situation where that would happen because they are individual, right? So you would get at least one of the main gears out, and one of the main gears together with the nose wheel is better than only the nose gear. Only the nose gear is still better than no gear, for the simple reason that you will land, depending on how you do the landing, the engines might or might not stay, right? I did a video about why the engines break off last week. So you could potentially maybe have the engines standing, like the aircraft standing on the engines and the nose wheel. In that case, you won't have such a weird attitude. If you belly land completely, it's very hard to. It's one of those things that is hard. Like if I get a situation like that, I will take my manual up and I will look at partial gear up landing and see what it says. But my initial thought is that I will probably use the gears I have, right? It will protect me as much as possible. Chrissy Brand, hi Petra, I just wanted to let you know how much you're helping nervous flyers like me. Thanks to you, I'm now able to actually enjoy it. Knowledge leads to trust, I think. Greetings for Cologne. Chrissy, I'm so happy to hear that. Like it actually makes me warm inside when I hear that from a nervous flyer. I do this so much for you guys, and I know that about a third of the population are nervous flyers. So, you know, I'm really happy to hear that. I am going to do on the website on mentorpilot.com, I'm going to create a full fear of flying course, starting on what to think about when you're at home, when you get to the airport, when you stand in the queue to board the aircraft. Talk through the whole flight about what we do, what the sounds are, why you feel a certain way, all the way until you come down, and then how you should work with the kind of, you know, experience once you get down on the ground again. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to make a fear of flying course because I feel that it's so important to do, and I'm also going to make that available inside of the app in one way or another. So if you get the course on the website, you'll get access to it in the app as well, so you'll be able to use it offline, and also you'll be able to then communicate with people in the chat, for example, in the Mentour Aviation app. So if you're sitting in the airport and you're starting to get nervous, then you'll have someone to talk to, someone who knows about it. So I'm hoping to be able to do that. I was planning to do it with a simulator that I have a friend who owns already when this started. Now I'm just waiting for this to lift so I can get access to the simulator and create it. But I'm really happy to hear that you feel that way. And I'm hoping to be able to give that to more people. Anthony Ochoa, hi Mentor. Watching your videos really helped me to overcome my fear of flying. I love planes and your channel. Thank you very much. Another one, like that's great. So once again, exactly like I said before, thank you for being here and for watching my videos. And feel free to spread them to anyone who you know are nervous flyers as well. Natalie Olson, I was watching a video on YouTube about Colgan Air. How critical is it to having unrelated conversation during sterile flight? Could that be a part of the issue with the Colgan Air crash? Like we have very, very strict rules when it comes to sterile phases. So from we start pushing until we're up at cruising altitude, and from when we start to stand down until we're at the gate, we're not supposed to have any of those discussions. Now, do we say a few words to each other that might not be related once in a while? It does happen. It depends a little bit on where you're going and what the weather is like and everything. But generally speaking, you should keep the sterile phases of flight. You need to, because you will make mistakes otherwise. And the fact that you're not speaking makes you more alert. It makes you think more about, okay, what kind of dangers are there? What's happening? If you are in a conversation about something specifically, if you're talking about something that raises emotions like politics, like religion, like race, whatever it might be that stokes people's feelings, you will be missing stuff. Like you will be more interested in discussing this with your counterpart than you will at your actual job, which is flying the aircraft. So can it be a factor? Absolutely. No questions about it. A lot of people have made a lot of silly mistakes because of that. So this is why we have that rule. There's almost no rules in aviation that is not there for a very, very good reason. All right. Scott Lowry. Hey, Scott. Great to have you here. Hi, Petter. How often do you fly with the same first officer and cabin crew during your working week? In a small base, it happens quite regularly. I do it a bit less often than others because I'm training quite a lot of the time. But if you're not training, if you're a regular captain, then you fly with the same people on the same roster as you generally. So you tend to kind of, in a small base with 1 or 2 or 3 aircraft, you kind of do it maybe once or twice a week, something like that. Balai Sharat Kumar, when no landing gear 727, is there a recovery method? Yes, there is, and I've done a video on that. So just look at emergency gear extension, search emergency gear extension Mentour, and you'll find it, and we'll show you exactly how we do it in order to gravity get the gear out. Just like in the Airbus 320, they have a little coffee grinder. We have some strings that you need to pull, right? And we have a checklist that you need to go through. Go in and check that. Right, because it's a great video that I didn't think got many views for how good it was. So go in and check this after. Magnus Burt, does your airline use air bridges at all airports? No, as few as possible. Air bridges slows the boarding down generally. And my airline likes to board from both the back and the front. So if you have an air bridge, normally you can only board from the front, which slows down the turnaround quite significantly. Right, so no. And Saki Rana Pia, why not make airports point camera on runway? Yeah, I'd say that most airports do have some kind of CCTV airport camera, but yeah, I agree. I mean, it would be a small thing to put in a camera that constantly films the airport. I'm sure that airports could do it, and you actually charge. They could probably have a YouTube channel where they could actually earn money from having that as well. I say not looking for accidents, but just seeing takeoffs and landings constantly. So yeah, it's a good idea. I don't know why they don't do that. I'm surprised that they don't, but anyway, we'll probably see that happening more and more from now on. Okay, so Sereko Lola is pointing out that on this day 10 years ago, American Airlines 191 crashed near airport. Who gonna say time go fast isn't better? Keep going, man. You'll reach the top. Well, thank you. Is it? No, it must be more than 10 years ago. Like the American Airlines crash, that was in 89, wasn't it? It's a huge amount of time ago. If I'm not mistaken. Anyway, if it was, yeah, I did talk about that crash in my in the video that I did a few weeks back as well. Actually, I think it was last week. It's if you're watching air crash investigations, that's one of those that you should look at. A lot of different things went wrong, and I feel really, really bad for the flight crew on that flight. There was very little they could have done. Like the engine basically disattached from the wing and ripped off the hydraulic lines, so the leading edges came in, so the wing stalled, so they flipped over. Horrible, horrible thing. Jessica, how do you have any advice for aspiring YouTubers? From Jessica. Yeah, make sure that your content is aimed at helping someone. Make sure that whatever you do when you make that video, it's not to catch as many people's eyes as possible, but to help as many people as possible. If that's the onus, if that's what you do, then you will get more and more people following you. So quality of output of what you do, and then try to work on general quality. Audio is really important, so make sure that you have a nice like lavalier mic, that you have a good editing program so that you can make sure that the audio is always nice, crisp and clear, and the camera, of course. But the camera is actually less important than the audio. If you can do, you can have a great YouTube channel with just an iPhone camera. They're great now. But the audio needs to be good, and you need to give something to your audience. If you're not there to help someone, it's unlikely that you're going to be able to succeed, right? So think of that before you do any video. Think, if you're a chef, you do cooking. If you are a plumber, you show people how to change their pipes, or how to declog their pipes, or how to change a toilet, whatever it might be that you're doing. Show it, think through how you're going to show it, do it in a way that people will appreciate, do it in a funny way. The funnier you are, this is my problem. I'm not a funny guy. Well, I am. I think I'm quite funny, but I don't do very funny videos, right? My videos are quite serious, and because of that, it's harder for me to grow, because people love laughing. They want to have a good time when they watch videos. They don't want to look at the talking head that is very, very serious like this. They want to feel a connection. So make sure that you build in that connection, that you're honest in what you do, and you're going to be able to go really, really far. Right? It will take you time though. You need to be tenacious. You need to continue to keep creating content even though no one is watching. But it will come. Like, I have done this for 5 years now. I still can't figure out which videos are going to be really, really big and which aren't. But at least I have you guys. I have, around 50,000 people that watches my videos anyway, in almost all circumstances. And then sometimes a video will just shoot away. Okay, and it will just go viral for whatever reason. I don't know why. I have no idea. I did a good example was like I've done some really, really cool, in my opinion, videos from the cockpit, from a simulator, like the one that I said about the emergency extension mechanism, and I thought this one is going to go really well because people love seeing this. It's like that. And then I did a video where I was just sitting on the jump seat in the back of the aircraft, and I was talking about the strap, the red strap that goes over the window, and why it was there. It was terrible quality, not edited, and it just went like a balloon, like it just disappeared. And I've no way of knowing why that happened. Cool. I have a question from M. Umar in the normal chat here. Hi, Mentor. How do you convince your parents to allow you to become a pilot if they disagree? I've done a video on that. Okay, so search for, let's see, what is this title of that one? I think it's called like that, What to Tell Your Parents, Mentor. Search that. And I've done a video for parents that you should show them. Like, what happened to me, how much it motivated me, how much better student I became when I knew I wanted to become a pilot, how much more of a upstanding citizen I became, how I kept away from drugs and alcohol in order to make sure that I could reach my target. So going for becoming a pilot at young age will get you through a lot of targets, will increase your grades, and it will make you better at whatever you end up doing. If it becomes a pilot, great, good future. If you end up becoming a banker instead, great, it probably brought you there as well. So there are very few downsides to having a goal to become a pilot in young age. And that's what I will tell your parents. Kukalti, can dyslectic people become airline pilots? For example, messing up letters when reading. Depending on how bad it is, all right? Dyslectic people can overcome quite a lot of obstacles, but it depends on how much problems you have. You need to be able to work on stress. You need to be able to read a manual, like a non-normal checklist. You need to be able to learn a lot of stuff under a compact period of time. So for example, if you go in an integrated course, then you need to do all of the 14 ATPL subjects over a period of, I think it's about 9 months. Normally the first part of your training tends to be focused on your theory. So there's going to be pressure on you. But if you can overcome that by hard work, for example, or by techniques, then sure, I don't see any problems with it. We have loads of dyslectic people that are doing fantastic things. Tom Cruise is dyslectic. He hates someone saying that, but he was diagnosed when he was smaller with dyslexia. Richard Branson is dyslectic as well. Loads of really successful people who have managed to go really, really far have dyslexia. So it's just a matter of your tenacity and your possibility to overcome these kind of things. That's the only thing that will stop you. Lucas is asking, what does raw data mean? It means that you're flying on raw instruments. So you're not using any flight directors. You're just flying on, for example, the localizer and the glide slope signal. If I'm flying a raw data ILS, I switch off the flight directors. I don't use any autopilot. I just fly it on the little dots, the center dot for the localizer and the dot for the glide slope. And you want to start chasing them, or you want to try to avoid chasing them. You want to stick on them. So raw data is that. It's just on raw instrumentation. Pratik P, ASI failure for the Dominican 757 into Atlantic and many more. Can we use INS IRS? If you know wind, can calculate the speed with ref of INS IRS. It won't be accurate, but considering some margin, it might save you from stalling. Yeah, well, in fact, you can, to a certain extent, use the ground speed indicator and give you winds, but it's going to be very inaccurate. What we try to use if we lose airspeed indication is to use attitude instead. We have a table, for example, in the 737 that tells you that if you are on a glide slope and you have a certain power setting and you have a certain attitude, that gives you a certain speed. So the higher attitude you have, the lower speed you have. Because it kind of makes sense if you think about it. If you're at lower speed, you're going to need a higher angle of attack in order to maintain the same descent rate. So after a while, and I've been doing approaches with this, after a while, providing that you have your attitude indicator and your thrust, you can actually fly without airspeed quite easily. Like you end up sitting and you're within 5-10 knots of where you're supposed to be because you're sitting with exactly 2.5. So for example, it says like, okay, on approach with flaps 30, you should have about 57% of thrust with 60 tons. Okay, so you're 60 tons, you know your weight. 60 tons, you put 57. If you are on a glide slope, you should have an attitude with that setting of about, let's say, 1.5 degrees. If you then sit with 5 degrees nose up, that indicates to you that you're way too slow. So you need to add thrust, right? You need to add thrust, and when you do, in order to follow the glide, you'll need to pitch more and more forward, right? Because you need less and less pitch. And then when you are at 1.5 or 1 degree or whatever we said, you put the thrust back to 57%. And if you can now follow that glide slope with that attitude, with that thrust setting, you're at the correct speed. That makes sense? Right? So you need to, it takes a little while, but then your brain kind of turns over and you understand that. And you sit there, it's like, oh yeah, actually now I have too little angle down, so I need to take off a little bit of thrust in order to get the speed right. Oh, now I have 3 degrees, put a little bit of thrust on, get the nose down, perfect. Now I'm in the correct spot again. So given that you have those, and this goes, you can have level flight with flaps up, you have level flight with flaps 1 and flaps 5, and gives you all of that. It just takes a little bit of time to kind of adjust yourself back to get the correct speed. Okay, looks like weather check in 6 minutes. Possible go to no go on SpaceX. Good, so we'll keep a track on that. T-minus 25 minutes, guys. Oliver Matsalo. Hi, Mentor. Greetings from Tallinn. I love flying to Tallinn. Love the content. Great job. My question is, when you are lucky and arrive ahead of schedule, do you still try to keep the 25-minute turnaround, or you have a bit more time to take a breath? If you're really early, then we have a little bit more time, because the fact is that people haven't gotten to the gate yet. So what we do try to do is we try to get away early as well, because the earlier we get away, the earlier we will be at the next one. If we can keep that going, it means we're going to be home early, which our wives loves. So we try to keep it, but if you're really early, you know that it's not going to happen, and some of the passengers in depth, they will turn up at minus 15 minutes at the gate. We need to wait for those passengers, so it ends up with a little bit more slack. Maybe you can take a cup of coffee and chill a little bit, but in my type of airline operation that I am doing, there's very little chill and a lot of like when you're on the ground. A lot of hard work on the ground. We actually work more on the ground than you do during almost all the other time that we're working. So, Amber R, what is this stream about? It's about aviation, man. It's about questions that you guys have about aviation. So what I do is I sit here and I talk about my limited knowledge about my 18 years or almost 19 years of flying a 737. So if you have any questions about that, that's why I'm here. Everett Mook, hi Petter, thank you for doing another live stream. Do you think that having experience as a cabin attendant can help become pilot? I do. I think it's a great way of understanding the operation, and also if you have been working in the cabin, you will have a much better understanding in, for example, an emergency and how they are going to respond and how you should be communicating with them. It's never bad to have experience of a different part of the operation. It's always good, guys. I was a ramper. I was loading up 737s before I flew them. I was a airport firefighter, so I knew how the firefighters thinks. I was never cabin crew. I went straight into the cockpit. But having those kind of insights, it means that I can relate to them. I understand them better. I never get angry with them. I always know how to communicate with them. And that, you know, if you are having an experience as cabin crew, a lot of airlines actually sees that as a good thing. They might recruit you as a pilot directly from the cabin. Some airlines don't. Some airlines do. But yeah, I don't think it's a bad idea at all. So Carrier Reesbergs have lived under the O'Hare flight path his entire life. Or her, I don't care. He could be either or. Cool. SpaceX, I think, guys, we're going to be finishing this off because I've been going for over an hour now, and it is time to go and see this historical moment over at SpaceX. So, guys, I don't have any more super chat questions. I want to thank you all for your time. I hope that you've enjoyed it. There will be another live stream on Sunday. I will probably bring a guest then. Haven't decided on who that is going to be yet, but you can be sure it's going to be someone cool who can come with really, really interesting insights. And like I said, if you like the kind of content I'm going out, you want to support the channel and the work that I do, and you want to be involved in it, preview videos, come with suggestions on thumbnails, give me feedback on videos before anyone else gets to see them, and also get access to my Discord server, then check out Patreon. All right, patreon.com/mentorpilot. You can donate as little or as much as you like. All right, anything is really highly appreciated. So anything from $1 a month up to, I have people that are supporting with much more than that, and I am grateful for everything. If you support, then you are part of the 0.03% of people who does actively engage with the channel, and it is really, really appreciated. Let's see. What is his name? My name is Petter. Without further ado, guys, have an absolutely fantastic day. Keep your positive attitude going, guys, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.